battered but proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and we've got Bob Savage here with us.
Hello, hope everybody had a great 4th of July weekend.
Yeah, 4th of July was awesome for us. What'd you do, Bob?
Oh, just a bunch of stuff. I had a little cookout. My mother-in-law, her birthday happens to be July 4th, so we had to get together over at her place, and the usual festivities.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I got a chance to spend time with family. We were down in Allegheny County, and it was just a great time. We spent the weekend there. I did some hammock camping, and just got a chance to kind of relax, unplug, and enjoy the beautiful weather.
Anything with a hammock in it gets my attention. Lots of relaxation in that old hammock once upon a time.
Oh yeah, it's pretty comfortable, and it's good for your back to sleep in them every once in a while too. So it was a good time for me, anyways. And the weather was amazing. It was
what a stretch we're going through.
Yeah, absolutely. The grass is a little brown. I haven't been watering it as much as I should.
But less mowing.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely less mowing for sure. So, but while I was, out of the Rochester area, I came home last night, and this morning I open up my phone and I see all the headlines. So far they're not looking so good. The first one that jumped out at me is the crime over the weekend was certainly seemed to be pretty increased. And Bob, I think you mentioned to me that our crime rate in Rochester over this weekend was higher than Chicago's.
Well, shootings. This was brought to my attention by one of our loyal listeners, and boy, we got a lot of them, and it's always great to hear from you folks. But our friend Carl sent me, Dr. Savage, am I calculating this right? Rochester had 8 shootings Saturday night, which is 4 shootings per 100,000 people, because our city of Rochester population is now down to 205. Chicago had 67 shootings Saturday night, which is 0.4 shootings per 100,000. That's based on a 2.7 million population in the city. So what it looks like is our shooting rate was 10 times higher than Chicago on Saturday. And by the way, I confirmed all that. I went through through his math. He's right. And to state it a different way, Chicago had a shooting this past weekend for every 40,298 people in their general population, while the Flower, a.k.a. Bullet City, had one for every 25,625 in the general population. So congratulations, folks. 10 times the shooting rate based on 100,000 per 100,000 population as the lethal city of Chicago, where things are really, really horrible.
Yeah, and it's sad to say, I remember growing up, and I don't remember what year this was. I think it was when I was in high school. The city of Rochester was referred to as the murder capital of the state.
Still is.
Yeah, and the thing is, you would think that would be, I don't know, New York City, because there's just a lot more people there. But no, it's not. It's Rochester.
Well, of course, that's changing in New York now. Now that they've defunded the police, and basically downtown Manhattan is like a free fire zone from what I hear. It's really a mess. The McDonald's in Times Square closed. So there's an indication of how bad things are.
Yeah. To be honest, I haven't actually seen much of what has been going on down there. I think some of it is the nice weather. I'm trying to spend some time outdoors. I'm trying to social distance a little bit from social media. So I'm not getting the funnels of news that normally I would. So it's getting pretty bad down there.
Oh yeah, the of course there's widespread rioting, as we all know, and so there's a lot of businesses that are closed up. The population base is gone because most people are working at home. So there's no reason for anybody to go to downtown, to midtown Manhattan. So that means that, of course, with the COVID closings, the few restaurants that were not closed as a result of COVID are having a tough go. And so there's extremely reduced hours. There's homeless people everywhere because nobody is enforcing any of those minor rules. The police are demoralized, and all the more so since the $1 billion cut that was handed to them by Governor, excuse me, by Mayor Big Bird, Bill De Blasio. So it's not good down there. A
Yeah.
lot of stores were looted, and they have not reopened. They just put plywood up on the windows. So instantly, the tourist mecca of Midtown Manhattan has turned into something that looks like, I don't know, a Middle Eastern mess.
Wow. Wow. Do you know, are they having the fireworks issue down there too?
Oh yeah,
Are they?
they're having almost every major city is having continuous fireworks problems at night, and in addition, in New York, we understand there is an ongoing problem with drag racing on the West Side Highway. Once you get into the wee hours, like 2, 3 o'clock, it sounds like NASCAR down there.
Wow. I couldn't help but notice, not to switch gears or anything, but in talking about government mismanagement, I noticed right before we were coming on the air, I heard the news report that New York's own review of the COVID deaths in nursing homes, New York State found that New York State's policies were just fine.
Well, that's I don't know about you, but I find that extremely reassuring.
Yeah, yeah. I love how they go through the whole thing and they say, yeah, they did a review, they did an investigation, they went through the numbers, this and that, they found this, they found that, and they found that the policy that Cuomo put in place did not put any of the patients in the nursing home at any additional risk, and he was following federal guidelines, which is actually not the case. Well, they said that he said that he was following federal
Well,
guidelines. He wasn't.
Donald Trump told me to do it.
Yeah, yeah. But then at the very end, they emphasize this study was not an independent study.
I'm thinking not. I don't think
Huh.
anybody thinks that that's the case. And even the CDC. I mean, New York State is not alone in cooking the numbers here. The CDC let the cat out of the bag last week, where they admitted that in reporting these new outbreaks, throughout the news now you're seeing the outbreaks, oh, everywhere. The numbers are going up, 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 and especially in the South, and in it's all this Armageddon reporting. Except you also have to note that the deaths are going down.
Yeah.
So if the cases are going up and the deaths are going down, but it's such a dangerous virus, something does not compute here. And then the CDC admits last week that they have been conflating the antibody testing with tests for actual people with the active case of the virus. So, for example, this past winter, I'm thoroughly convinced that I had COVID because I was really sick for 6 weeks. And I tested negative for pneumonia and I tested negative for flu. So my general practitioner says that's about a 98% probability you had COVID because all this respiratory stuff that was going on. So I've got the antibodies, right? So if I were to go get tested, that number is going, and I'm positive, that gets tossed into the bin as a new case of COVID.
Mm.
See
Yeah.
how this works?
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Oh. Well, the other thing that I think is worth emphasizing here is if the numbers are indeed going up in other states, that is going to be very likely to be due to the fact that they are starting to doing testing. In New York, we're doing, what do we do, like 60,000 tests a day now or something like that, maybe even more than that.
Yeah, I think the last number I saw, and this is days ago, so I'm sure this number is old. I think we had 3 million New Yorkers tested.
Yeah, yeah. So we've been doing a lot of testing in New York, and all throughout the whole thing, Cuomo himself was like, the number is going to go up because we're doing more testing, Well, we started at like doing something small, like 200 tests a day. Now we're up to the tens of thousands, if not even much further beyond that. These other states are probably ramping up their testing too, so we should be applying the same numbers, the same logic, and look and say, are the numbers going up because you're testing more, or are they going up because there's actually new cases? I think that's pretty relevant. Guys, you're listening to Radio Free New York. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a moment.
Yeah, we gave IQ tests to everybody in the state capitol. The stupidity numbers in New York could go up too.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A-plus Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
I'm Las from Action Towing and Service. We are the biggest towing company in New York State, but we do a lot more than just towing. We will tow just about anything, but we will also repair just about anything as well. We offer a courtesy shuttle and pickup. We offer a drop box service. We have all these amenities that we've put in place to make sure that every one of our customers can receive the best service possible. Please give us an opportunity to win your business. Come down and visit us at 275 Marketplace Drive, right off of Jefferson Road.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice, save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe, ride free, ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A-plus Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
It's the year 2020. Cities are burning, businesses are shutting down, a virus is running loose, and people are quarantined in their homes. While people sit at home not able to pay their most basic bills, the fat cats in government give themselves raises with emergency relief money. Then they take out loans to pay off the people so they don't understand how desperate the situation really is. As families live on government funds that will mortgage their children's future into financial slavery, groups of people take to the streets to protest the damage done by physical slavery. Hate has become the new currency, peddled by politicians and the media. It spews from the television, the paper, social media, and mobile phones. It spreads like wildfire, ensuring destruction of anything in its path, guaranteeing one thing, that we all lose. Welcome to these United States. United we stand, divided we fall. Friends, we are not united. And I ask the question, is history crumbling before us? This year has been a very intense year, littered with government overreach, violence, desperation, people going into debt, economic disparity. And, I look at history and this feels like the beginning of a fall of a civilization. Bob, what do you think?
I think you have to look at what's going on, and you have to ask yourself the reason why would this all be happening. Let's turn the hands of the clock back here to January, where we had record unemployment. We had record new job growth. We had a teeming economy. We had crime, decades of crime stats throughout the United States dropping, violent crime stats, really falling like a rock. The progressive agenda looking like it was headed for the ash heap of history. And who is at the forefront of all of this? A controversial president who a significant portion of the country has a hatred for him, which can only be described as pathological. Pathological being defined as that's a disease. Pathology is the study of disease. And so the hatred of Donald Trump would be an unhealthy thing and a self-defeating thing. So what is all this about? Why are all these negative vectors that you just ticked off in that piece you just read there, Andrew? Why would these things be happening? We know that there is a global political left which is devoted to bringing down democratic regimes and replacing them with autocratic regimes, or at the very least authoritarian ones. And we know that that's kind of like metal rusting. It's kind of like a force of nature. We know that the tendency for politics on a global scale is always in the direction of authoritarianism, totalitarianism, control, and subjugation of people. And after a period of time, the people rise up, they overthrow the authoritarian, totalitarian regimes, and the whole system is reset, and the cycle begins again. Where does all of that point? That points to a concerted effort by the global left to stop the spread of, what the United States represented, say, 6 months ago. Prosperity, freedom, self-determination, all the things that have made this country great. This can only mean one thing. I mean, if you were to take a poll, Andrew, of the level of skepticism that the general public has about this COVID thing, I think that you would see amazingly lopsided numbers. I think the vast majority of people think it's bunk.
I think so, too.
Hey, I was just looking at you don't have your TV monitors on in your location, but here we always have Channel 10 on. I'm looking at news footage of the 4th of July weekend. Throughout the Sun Belt, places like Myrtle Beach, places like Galveston Beach, throughout the South, throughout the Gulf, along the Atlantic coast. Thousands of people all out there, not a sign of a mask anywhere. They're all partying, they're drinking, they're swimming, they're surfing. Everybody's having a great time. People are done with this. They are freaking done with this. They want their businesses back. They want their livelihoods back. They want their kids back in school. They want this to end because a significant portion, reasonable minds can differ on what the percentage is, significant number of people believe that this is hyped, that it's bunk, and that COVID is a nasty bug if you get it. I've had it. I'm thoroughly convinced of that. I wasn't officially diagnosed, but that's the only thing it could have been because pneumonia and the flu this past winter were eliminated. Those were negatives. And I'm 70. So it's, and I got through it fine. So it's a real threat to people who are vulnerable, no question about it. But it is not the gigantic threat to the general population that is being sold as. And I think most people believe that. So what does it mean? This is a lengthy response to your question about the thing that you read there, Andrew. But I think this is a concerted effort to stop what Donald Trump represents and stop what the United States represents. And if we can bring the United States to its knees in the process, so much the better.
Yeah, and I have to say that I think when the virus first took off, I think people were legitimately afraid. I think people were scared. I think they were worried. But I think as time goes on, I agree. I mean, I I walk around, I see people not wearing masks for the most part. Actually, I went to Charlotte Beach, I think it was Thursday night. The local Libertarian Party was meeting at a pavilion there, um, and the beach was packed. I mean, there was a ton of people on the pier, a ton of people on the beach playing volleyball, swimming. I don't think I saw a single mask. I saw a couple people who came to the meeting. They brought masks because, they didn't know how other people might feel. They
Right.
weren't sure how close or not close they would be.
But people are doing this out of just basically out of a feeling of courtesy to those who might be
Correct.
alarmed.
Yeah.
They're not doing it because they're propelled by actual fear about their health.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree completely. And when I interact with people on a daily basis, it's really interesting. I talk to people on the phone. I talk to people via Zoom. I do see people face to face, believe it or not, as well. And the sentiment has been generally the same, with a few exceptions. I know a few people who do have very at risk immune systems, and they are very nervous and they're very concerned, and they should be. They're high risk factor. If they were to get ill, they may not make it through. It's pretty likely, especially the one person, the sickness they have. But for the vast population, the majority of people do do not appear, at least from my very limited scope, to be concerned.
Well, it's interesting because you see all these purported experts. Fauci, of course, gets a lot of slings and arrows, and he probably should. But there are other talking heads that are almost invariably aligned with government or with the government-dependent healthcare industry, and it is completely dependent on government. And they're always waxing pessimistic about what's in store for us. And I think that there's a real credibility gap that's going on there, and it's widening because these are the same experts who have been predicting dire things since February, and so many of their predictions have turned out to be like wildly hyped, tremendously inaccurate, or agenda driven, or some combination of all of those things. And there's an increasing part of their commentary about COVID, which is prospective, and it's speculative. It's, well, this is going to come back, and when it comes back, it could be more virulent, and all these people that are not social distancing, they're really putting themselves at risk, and they're putting other people at risk, and blah blah blah, and on like this, and these are the same people who have been wrong 60 to 80% of the time up to now. So I think that people are just not listening anymore. And they're very tired of the authoritarianism, and they want their lives back. It's summertime. People want to enjoy life. They're concerned about their kids this fall. This is an overarching concern for so many, countless families. What's going to happen this fall? If the kids don't go back to school, how can I go back to work? Who's going to watch the kids at home? These are real-world concerns that politicians and healthcare policymakers just don't seem to get, and people are really getting sick of it. I think
Well,
that
and
I think. Go ahead.
I have to add in here, I know a couple families whose kids are special needs, and their school day is more of a program to help them build up social education and language and basics, and sometimes they're quite a bit behind, and they need that interaction to deal with what they're dealing with that need. And these parents have told me, without that program being active, without having their kids be able to be social with other kids at the same level, they're seeing years worth of work roll back and regress. because the kids aren't getting the therapy that they need,
That's
which could set
tragic.
them back 5-6 years in their life, in their
Horrible.
development. Yeah, it's really not good. All right, guys, you're listening to Radio Free New York. When we come back from break, we're going to talk about the Frederick Douglass statue that came down in Maplewood Park, right up the street from me. We're going to talk about that and more when we come back on Radio Free New York.
Now, more than twice the power. More powerful FM 92.1, FM 95.5 West, and 1040 AM WYSL Avon Rochester.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center. For tonight, we're looking at mainly clear skies. Temperatures upper 60s, near 70 degrees. On Tuesday, a hot one, but the humidity still not that bad. Temperatures will be in the low to mid 90s, bit cooler by Lake Ontario. Wednesday, a bit muggier. Temps in the 90s, slight chance of an afternoon shower or a thunderstorm. Could be in the mid 90s on Thursday. I'm Rich Canilia, WYSL.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Because your future is worth it. MGM Associates Insurance. Proudly serving the region since 1984, MGM can meet your coverage needs, ranging from home, condo, and auto, all the way to specialized policies for business, workers' comp, to limo and taxi insurance, and coverage for tech professionals like IT specialists. They can also help lead you through the confusing maze in the new world of health insurance coverage and options. MGM Associates is large enough to serve you, but small enough to care, so you don't have to wait in line on some 800 number to get prompt personal attention. MGM Associates is the only winner of the National Best Practices Award 5 times in a row. MGM is proud to support veterans groups, including Heroes Home Advantage. For your personal, business, home, or professional insurance needs, put the experience of MGM Associates Insurance on your team. Locally and proudly owned at 1745 Penfield Road in Penfield. 381-7008 or mgminsure.com, an associate of Finger Lakes Fire and Casualty, Route 227 in Trumansburg, New York.
There's a place in the village of Avon you and your critters will love. Whether they're big or small, whether they've got hair, fur, or feathers, Avon Feed fits every need. There's a full selection of pet foods for dogs and cats, bird feeders, suet, and dry shot boots and garden shoes. They've got grass and clover seed too. Check out their frequent flyer birdseed program. Buy 10 bags of birdseed, get the next bag free. Choose farm feeds and great equine products like Blue Seal and Nutrina, plus pull and grains. Everything for your pet, from feeding bowls to toys, leads, collars, and tie-outs. Avon Feed and Supply has what the big pet chain stores will never have: Tim Cole and his great knowledgeable staff. And if you think you'll save money at that pet superstore, well, think again. While you're at Avon Feed, don't forget the two-legged pets with River Rat Thousand Island cheese and great flavors including hard-to-find mean and nasty. Plus, once again, nut butters, Nunde mustards, and Rickles pickles. Open weekdays 9 to 6, Saturday 9 to 4. Avon Feed and Supply, West Main Street at the bottom of the hill, just west of the Circle.
Villa of Hope is here for you. Adults, youth, parents, grandparents, no matter who you are, we are here to respond to you and make connections to the services you need right now. How that help looks may be different from before, but we are committed to making sure we are giving you our best while keeping everyone as safe as possible. Let us help rebuild your resilience. Call 1-877-584-HOPE. That's 1-833-993-HOPE.
Stay safe and in your car. Let us do the work. The Avon Gasway on Route 39 features all-American Valero gasoline with full-service gas island, plus ethanol-free gas, on- and off-road diesel, crystal clear kerosene, and propane exchange. Open daily, the Avon Gasway, Route 39.
All Seasons Wine and Spirits, East Main Street in Avon has a great selection of the newest and flavored liquors. Try Blue Toad, Raspberry Blueberry Cider. Open daily 9 to 9, Sundays noon to 9. All Seasons Wine and Spirits.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right, we are back here on Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We've got Bob Savage here with us. And I was pretty surprised to hear the news this morning that yesterday somebody tore down the Frederick Douglass statue in Maplewood Park.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah, that's kind of a piece with the story from last week where they tore down Ulysses S. Grant's statue. You know, I mean, if you had to pick somebody who was, you know, exactly the opposite of an oppressor, at least in terms of slavery and the freeing of the slaves and the integration of African Americans into the American political mainstream, Ulysses S. Grant would be right up there. He helped defeat the Confederacy. He helped free the slaves. He also crushed the first iteration of the Ku Klux Klan, which would have, you know, wound up on the ash heap of history by the 1890s, were it not for progressive Democrat President Woodrow Wilson and his ilk, who revived the Klan after the turn of the century and fanned it into a pretty successful organization for a while there. In the 1920s, the Ku Klux Klan had 5 million members in the U.S. And by the way, right now, the smart money says that the actual Klan membership in the United States is probably less than 5,000.
Interesting. So I was pretty interested, you know, not interested, but surprised, you know, seeing that this statue was taken down. And of course, a bunch of theories have already come in. I know the police are investigating it. You know, one of the theories that came up, I've got a small list here for you guys, is that somebody tore this statue down. Which, by the way, I've been to this statue. I've seen it. I actually took a really cool picture of the statue last February. I posted on my Facebook page. You guys can check it out. It's go to Facebook, Andrew C. Hollister, click on the page. It's one of the most recent posts. You know, this picture of the statue, and it not only is it a very historic area, you know, it's part of the Underground Railroad. He was a civil liberties fighter for sure, one of the most famous in history. And to see this statue taken down, the first thing I'm going to say is that thing's got to be so heavy. You know, I mean, it's bolted to the ground, and it looks like where the bolts look like they're still there. I have no idea how they did this. And one of the first things some people have said is that this was done by some unknown group of people as retribution for other statues that are coming down across the country. Which I'm not feeling that that's likely at all.
That doesn't even make
I'm
sense.
not feeling that way. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that that's people shooting in the dark. I have a few other, you know, theories that I've seen floating around. One of them is that there are Antifa instigators trying to make it look like white nationals did this. That, although it would feel a little more likely, I feel like they'd put swastikas and stuff like that around. You know, I feel like they would try to make it a little more pointed in that direction. The next theory is maybe it was actually white nationalists. I'm not feeling that either, personally. I don't know whether or not that's true, but I'm thinking probably not. Once again, there's no extra, or none reported anyways, I guess is what I should say. No additional insignia, or there doesn't seem to be any group claiming responsibility. And, there doesn't seem to be. I'll give you a great example. When there was property destruction downtown, there was literally hordes of people there making a lot of noise, um, setting things on fire, rioting, looting. There wasn't any of that either that was reported that I'm aware of. So it seems like whoever did this, at least based on the limited information we have right now, tried to keep their presence pretty low key. They didn't want people to know what they were doing. And I don't know. I mean, Bob, what do you think? I mean, what's the motivation behind taking this statue down, do you think?
Well, while you've been talking, I've been trying to research this, and we're having a connectivity issue here with the web. I can't get out on my cell phone for some reason. But there was a famous speech that Frederick Douglass gave having to do with the 4th of July and slavery. I was trying to get to that to that link, and I can't get to it right now because the internet's foobar. That has been pushed by some people as justification for this or as an excuse for it. I'm not sure that makes any more sense than the example you just gave, but that seems to be at least the pretense for doing this. It's a dumb thing to do.
Yeah, yeah. So I do actually. I have the speech here, or at least the part of the speech. I don't know that this is the whole speech. It was done on July 5th, 1852, in Corinthian Hall in Rochester. And his speech, this became one of his most famous speeches, his most famous works. The only thing more famous, I believe, is his autobiography. And it's called What to the American Slave is Your 4th of July? And I'm just going to read it to you guys here, this excerpt. What have I or those I represent to do with your national independence? Are the great principles of political freedom and natural justice embodied in that Declaration of Independence extended to us? What to the American slave is your 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him, more than all other days in the year, the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. So that is the speech that he gave, I believe it was 168 years ago, on July 5th, the same day, or the anniversary of which the statue came down. And I have seen across the internet some people say, yeah, they took it down because of that speech. I've heard the other side, which is they took it down so that speech would resurface in the media. I don't know if any of that's true.
Well, that's a convoluted way to get something done.
Yeah.
Let's
I mean,
destroy
it's
something
very,
of total value just to get some media attention. I don't buy it.
Yeah. I don't get it either. I think what could be very likely, and I have no evidence to support this whatsoever, but what could be likely is that you had a group of individuals who enjoy destroying property. And they've seen statues being torn down all across the United States. They've seen property being damaged. And they decided they were just going to go to the park and take down a statue. I bet they didn't even know whose statue it was or what it represented. I bet you they just pulled it down. They were going to try to push it down the gorge as maybe a practical joke, maybe just some personal puffery, just to feel good about themselves that they did something. They destroyed a piece of public property, and I bet they just didn't even know the value of what they were damaging and the historic significance of what they destroyed.
Well, somebody made the observation last week, with the destruction of these statues, that these people tear down everything they don't understand. If it doesn't mean anything to them, they just destroy it. And I think there's something to that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It could be. I couldn't speak to that. I see Jake here comments on Facebook. He says, "Was there a noose found?" I didn't hear
No.
anything about that. I didn't
There's
hear
no.
anything about anything found
Now
that
the
was used.
statue was removed. It was toppled from its concrete pedestal, and then they dragged it and they threw it over there was like a barrier fence that's made of that plastic snow fence stuff, and it was found on the other side of that. And one of Frederick Douglass's fingers was broken off, and so they're going to restore it.
Yeah, yeah. So check out that picture though on my Facebook page. You get a chance to see what the statue looked like before this happened. I've got that posted up there. You guys can check it out. We're gonna take a break. When we come back, we're gonna wrap up the show with talking about the mindset of our founding fathers. We'll be back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Aircraft Environmental Systems proudly supports Radio Free New York. Rochester-based leaders in climate simulation chambers for America's R&D laboratories. We're experts in troubleshooting, calibrations, custom designs, and consulting for more than 40 years. Industry pioneers, we created the first ever fleet of temperature, humidity, and altitude test chambers available to rent coast to coast. Trained and trusted by environmental chamber manufacturers, we are ACES. Find us at acesinc.com.
Fiorella, a family-owned farm-to-table Italian restaurant at the Rochester Public Market, is open for curbside contactless takeout Wednesday through Saturday. Lunch 11:30 to 2 and dinner 4 to 8. Fiorella offers wood-fired, old-world-style pizza with naturally leavened dough and house-made fresh pasta. Check out our Facebook and Instagram at Restaurant Fiorella for nightly specials. Thursday is gnocchi night. Call 434-5705. View the takeout menu on the web, restaurantfiorella.com.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Radio Free New York.
All right, we are back here on Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. And the question I pose to each of you listening today is, what is the difference between the mindset that our founding fathers had versus the mindset that people have today? I think it's a question worth reflecting on, especially after Independence Day weekend. Something I remind people of every single year, which really kind of blew up on me this year, surprisingly. Every year I make a post about how the founding fathers, during their time, were considered violent protesters who became terrorists and committed treason. And I posted about that, and I usually will take current references made today and integrate that as what people probably said during history. And man, people this year, I've been doing this since the Safe Act because to me that was my correlation, my form of tyranny um, that I woke up to was the passage of the Safe Act. So I've been making this post for the last 7 years. And Bob, I gotta tell you, people really got upset and thought that I was justifying violence and burning of buildings and everything because of what was going on with current events. And it was kind of an interesting experience. I had to kind of reel people in and say, "Hey guys, talk about this every year." And you can't change what history was. Um, but it was a pretty interesting experience for me. That's for sure.
So they're getting mad at you because you're chronicling history? I'm not sure I follow that.
Yeah, they were upset because I had pointed out that many people would have looked at the founding fathers at that time and said things like, "I can't support your cause because it's violent." The same type of thing, or very similar things to what we would hear with the Safe Act, which would be something like, "Well, I would, but only, if it's this or if it's that," kind of the common excuses that you see. So I always pull out like phrases that I see in headlines, I insert them as things that were probably said then that people say today to use as justification to not support a cause. When the founding fathers stood up and yeah, they were violent protesters considered treasonous terrorists. And the people around them probably said things like, "Yeah, I'd support your cause, except you lost me when you went violent. We really need to fix this in the courts. The courts are a way to do it. You know what you should do? You should write a letter to the king." And they tried all that. They tried going through the courts. They tried reaching out to the king, and the oppression continued to come and continued to come, which is what sparked the revolution, and it's why we have this country today. But people look at the same tyranny, actually much, much deeper, stronger, and oppressive tyranny, and go, "Oh, you know what? The answer is you got to write a letter. That's how you're gonna fix it." And so to me, there just must have been a totally different mindset, or maybe just a different level of frustration or desperation that the founding fathers had compared to the people who live today.
Well, there's, you have to look at from an objective standpoint. What are the objectives? What were the founding fathers trying to do? And what was the nature of the oppression that they were trying to throw off? Is it capable of being accurately and concisely defined? The nature of the tyranny is what I'm talking about. Obviously, the only way that you're going to end tyranny is with some show of force, because the people who are in charge are armed, and so they have to be defeated and they have to be taken out of power. And they're not going to, you can't write them a nice note and say, "Isn't it time you step down?" Don't you think that maybe, if you were to maybe step aside and let somebody else take a crack at this? No, these are people who derive their purpose and their sense of having a role in life from suppressing others. So they're not going to let go of that power. So that's, by definition, you're talking about having to overthrow that. So I think it was fairly clear at the time of the American Revolution what had to be done in order for us to have a successful civilization here in North America. And that was that we had to get rid of distant British rule that was oppressive and was not respectful of our rights and was crushing us economically. It had to stop because the people couldn't bear it anymore. I think that's fairly easy to understand. What is the problem? What exactly are Antifa and BLM fighting for now? Somebody's got to explain that to me, because I don't get it. Do you, Andrew?
So I would say, and this I'm hoping to get somebody who can come on the show, because I've been doing a lot of listening lately, and over the years, and the things projected by the media, I can't speak for Antifa, nor can I speak specifically for Black Lives Matter, but I can speak for the people who I've spoken to who say that they support Black Lives Matter, and they give me
Why?
their explanation of what it means to them.
Yeah, why?
And
What is there a consensus, or does everybody? And this is the point here too, by the way. Everybody you talk to about BLM, you say, why do you support them? So everybody I talk to who supports them has a different reason.
so the answer that I'm getting pretty consistently is first kind of a re-explanation of what Black Lives Matter means to them, which is very interesting, by the way. Which is why I think we should get somebody on the show. But what I've been told is that to them, Black Lives Matter does not mean that all lives don't matter. What it means to them is Black Lives Matter too. And I've heard this from multiple people at this point. They're like, the two isn't on the end because it shouldn't need to be in their mind. To them, it's like, hey, we feel like we're being disadvantaged. We're just trying to say that we matter. We're not saying that other people don't matter. And I think there's a language barrier there that causes a huge rift between people, because people take it in, they mean it one way, people perceive it in another way. And I think it's causing, well, I don't think, I know, I can see it. It's causing a lot of tension, which is why I think people need to come together and we need to have some common language so that we can understand everything.
That's it. I mean,
how
look,
they mean it.
Where's the e pluribus unum in all of this? You know, out of many, one. That's what it means. So everybody understood that in the time of the American Revolution. There was a common foe. There was a common objective that we were trying to accomplish. You know, when you talk to anybody about BLM, what you get is a bunch of basically navel gazing. Just and you just quoted it, Andrew. This is what it means to me. This is what I think. But what is the beef? What is the issue? Do BLM's leaders seriously argue that white people just want them to be dead? I don't believe that.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard that specifically. More of what I've heard is that they see the statistics that black people are incarcerated at higher rates, die in police custody at higher rates, those sort of things, and they want that injustice
Black
fixed.
people commit more crime.
That may be the case.
If you look at the stats, I mean, you know, in certain categories of violent crime throughout the United States, African Americans account for what, 11%, depending on who you talk, 11 or 13% of the general population. And in certain categories of violent crime, such as assaults on police officers on weekends, they account for 98% of that crime. And as far as shootings and murders and everything else, unfortunately, because the Great Society has really kneecapped African Americans as a group, they got so many young men growing in fatherless homes who are, you know, saddled with horrible poverty. But this is not the fault of white people generically. This is the fault of government being substituted for family and for values and for believing in something bigger than yourself. That's, I mean, if you had to put your finger on one single cause, which is a dangerous thing to do, that's a major one.
Yeah, I think that most of us can agree that big government and the government in general has caused the overwhelming majority of these issues. And I believe having the conversations about that is going to be our steps forward in resolving it. And I know there's a bunch of other stuff that surrounds it too that has nothing to do with it. Like Kevin talked about the flyer going around, oh, let's cancel the rent. That's canceling the rent's not a racial issue, and people trying to bring that in, I think, is what starts to cause problems. So yeah, I'm hoping to get somebody on the show that can explain it in their terms, and then we can see, do we agree? Do we disagree? Do we have common ground? Do we not? I think it's going to be really important for our communities to heal, to have that conversation. Guys, you're listening to Radio Free New York. We'll be back, same time, same place, tomorrow.